Aaron, thank you. Johnny Olerud, tremendous first baseman with Seattle, with Toronto, the Mets. 12th man today raising the flag, and off we go in a very loud stadium here in Seattle. Weather could not be any better here in the middle of December. 49 degrees. And when it is like this, it is crystal clear in the sky in the Pacific Northwest. Glad you're with us. Stay with us. Here we go. Football on Fox with Ellington waiting deep. He'll bring it out. And not make the 20. Brock Coyle down there. Lockett celebrating a 22-yard return. And here comes Colin Kaepernick. No good the last 2 weeks. No good. 1-4 against Seattle in his career. The numbers, well, they don't speak to a big day for Kaepernick, but the 49ers and Kaepernick, they need that here this afternoon. 7-6 meeting 9-4. Kaepernick hits his fullback, and Bruce Miller, who Troy before the snap was moving all over the place, was worn out before the snap, out to make the catch. And we look at what is the 24th ranked offense in the NFL. Some of the names, they need to get Vernon Davis involved here too.
Get Vernon Davis involved, and I think they're going to have to give some help, Joe, to their right tackle, Jonathan Martin, who on Thanksgiving night had a tough time slowing down Cliff Averill off the edge.
We saw the graphic. Joe Looney at center, starting for the injured Marcus Martin. Jonathan Martin out of tackle. Here's Gore, and he's wrapped up in the backfield, brought down by Michael Bennett. A loss of 4.
Well, Michael Bennett is so quick off the ball. You see that they're pulling the right guard, Alex Boone. They're expecting then Vernon Davis to be able to, I think that was Jonathan Martin, to come down and be able to make that block, and that's asking a lot when you give a space like that to Michael Bennett. Extremely quick.
Third down and 5. Handoff is to Hyde, and the rookie's got a nice gain. First down. Out past midfield into Seattle territory, and a flag flies. At the end of the run, a 38-yard run by the rookie Hyde. That would go for his longest by a mile this season if it counts. We'll get the call from Ed Hockley. Ed Hockley's crew calling the 4th most penalties in the NFL.
Illegal block in the back by the offense, number 84. It's a 10-yard penalty. The play still results in a first down after enforcement.
So even after the penalty is walked off, it's a first down. It's against Brandon Lloyd. But a nice gain on 3rd down and 5. There was a lot of room for Carlos Hyde. And there's the block in the back.
There's the block in the back down the field, but an excellent job up front. Carlos Hyde, he's able to make K.J. Wright miss along with Earl Thomas in order to pick up that first down.
Handoff is to Gore. Nice move. Frank Gore is into Seattle territory now officially. No flags down. And a carry of 15 yards for number 21, and there he is. They got to get him rolling.
Well, it's a great job of running here by Frank Gore. You see the way that he's able to navigate the traffic to get up to the second level. Earl Thomas is the one who comes in and finishes him off. He doesn't make that play. Frank Gore's all the way into the end zone.
Well protected pass is knocked down. And then you've got the defense, the #1 ranked defense in the NFL. They are healthy. Big reason why they are so much better is the health of middle linebacker Bobby Wagner. But man, they are rolling right now.
They're playing as good as any defense has ever over the last 7 weeks of the season.
Second down and 10. A man open. Vernon Davis incomplete. And there's a miss from Colin Kaepernick.
Boy, he had a chance too, and you just don't know how many times you're going to get opportunities for big plays down the field against this defense, because they just simply do not give up big plays, whether it's in the passing game or in the running game. 2 weeks ago in that game on Thanksgiving night, Joe, the biggest play that San Francisco had offensively was 16 yards. So there was a missed opportunity to Vernon Davis.
3rd and 10. Extra men on the rush. Kaepernick is down. Play made by K.J. Wright. A loss of 3. A couple of first downs on the drive, but that's it. It stalls near midfield.
Well, the Seahawks don't typically bring pressure, but Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator, dials it up on 3rd down, and a good stop by the Seattle defense.
Brian Walters was inactive last week at Philadelphia. He's active and waiting for the punt from Andy Lee. It's a good one. And Walters with a fair catch after a 38-yard punt near the 10. Harbaugh thought it was starting off well. It stalled at midfield. Seahawks have it. Weather couldn't be any better up here. I know it's been rough on the West Coast this week with all the rain. First down, taking over at the 10 for Russell Wilson. Pass behind the line of scrimmage. It's Kearse. And Jermaine Kearse with a nice gain of 8 on the first play from scrimmage. The rookie Borland on the tackle. We look at this offense. Some people were critical of the game that Russell Wilson played last week that we watched at Philadelphia. Looked pretty good to me. And it's Jean-Pierre again at center, making his 3rd straight start in place of the injured Max Unger.
Well, I think Russell Wilson, he's really hit a groove here in the last 4 weeks. He's protected the football, a real key part of what they do offensively, but he's been real stable.
Pressure, throw, incomplete, no flag. Richardson the intended target with Dante Johnson on the coverage. 3rd and 2 coming up.
Well, Russell Wilson just unable to really drive into this throw because Ray McDonald is right in the middle. He gets the pressure right in Russell Wilson's face. That's why the ball came out underthrown.
See if San Francisco can force a 3-and-out here to start their day defensively.
Yeah, that's got to make defensive coordinator Vic Fangio happy. Last week in that loss against Oakland, very inconsistent in their pass rush, especially in the second half. They get pressure on Russell Wilson on the second play of the game.
3rd down and 2. Handoff is to Lynch, and you know what he does. Fights through tackles and bodies for 4 yards and a first down. Despite all the injuries, Vic Fangio, who's one of our favorites to talk to and one of the best assistant coaches in the NFL, has this defense ranked 3rd in the NFL. They need more pressure out of Aldon Smith, who's still working his way back in after starting the year suspended for 9 games.
Yeah, you know, you didn't expect him to step right in and pick up where he left off last year, but he has to be a factor today.
Lynch, good play. There he is, right on cue. Aldon Smith closed down and a gain of just 2.
I think if you look at this 49er defense, they've been so good for so many years, and without some really key guys. Of course, Navarro Bowman, who was put on IR this week, he has not played a snap. Patrick Willis, he went down a few weeks back, and Aldon Smith misses the first 9 games. They're on their 3rd nose tackle, and yet, as you said, Vic Fangio has his defense third in the National Football League. They've done their part.
Handoff is to Turbin. Well played up front again by San Francisco. Third down coming up. You could tell after that first down carry, there was a little jawing going on with Will Tukuafu, who used to play for San Francisco. Now the fullback for Seattle, getting into it with his former teammate Aldon Smith.
Well, whether it's those two or really these two organizations, there's been so much at stake over the years when these two teams have met. The last time here in Seattle, the NFC Championship game 11 months ago.
Movement up front, that was Carpenter.
False start, offense, number 77. 5-yard penalty. It's third down.
So the false start on Carpenter, who missed 3 games with an ankle injury, third game back. And there's Pete Carroll. Is this the final chapter? I mean, that's something we'll talk about as we go through the rest of the day. Pete Carroll's solid on his sideline, but Jim Harbaugh is not on his, despite all the success. Third and 10. Wilson in trouble and brought down. Good play by Ahmad Brooks. He was benched last week. He missed a meeting during the week, and now he's back, and he picks up the sack. And for Ahmad, that's number 6 on the year.
Well, it's an excellent job by San Francisco, being able to get inside pressure, the push, and then Ahmad Brooks being able to finish him off. Just a 4-man rush. That's a couple times now we've seen pressure on Russell Wilson, something they desperately need.
Beautiful punt by Ryan. Ellington from back inside the 25. Makes one good move. Then another, gets to the 30. 58-yard punt. Schofield on the tackle, an 8-yard return. Second possession for the 49ers, no score. Back inside, second possession. How about what the 49ers did running it the first time against the top-ranked run defense in the NFL?
I think it was a great start for San Francisco on that first drive. Missed an opportunity to Vernon Davis, but they've got to be pleased the way they were able to come out and run the football against this defense.
Kaepernick's going to run this football against the defense and slide for a short gain of 2. Bobby Wagner will get credit for the tackle. How about what the defense has done over the last 3 games? Against the Cardinals, at San Francisco on Thanksgiving, at the Eagles, all season lows. I mean, smothering.
Smothering, yeah, that's a good word for it, Joe. I really thought last week was going to be their stiffest test here in the second half of the season against an offense in Philadelphia averaging over 400 yards a game. Completely dominated that game defensively. They've been simply outstanding.
Here's Gore left side. No. Brought down by Kevin Williams, a loss of 1. And maybe most importantly for Seattle's defense, they've allowed only 20 points total over the last 3 games. That's where it really counts.
Kevin Williams here does an outstanding job defeating the blocker and being able to then make the tackle on Frank Gore. He stepped into the starting lineup there at the nose tackle position, a position that's really relatively new for him once Brandon Mebane went down for the year.
Sun in the eyes of Kaepernick on 3rd and 9. Pass incomplete. Coverage on Vernon Davis was heavy, and the throw was behind him. It's 4th down.
Bruce Irvin able to get a hand on this ball, and right there they're trying to stick it in quickly to Vernon Davis, who's covered by KJ Wright. You talked about Bobby Wagner coming back and really helping this defense. One of the reasons that it helped them so much was it allowed KJ Wright to move back to the weak side linebacker position where he plays his best football.
Good punt. Walters from about the 20. Nice play by Osgood. Kasim Osgood downfield to make the tackle. Second possession now for Seattle. no score. Hi, my name is Johnny Manziel. You might know me as Johnny Football. I made my first start here in week 15. How'd I do? Oh, I went 10 for 18, 2 interceptions, threw for 80 yards, had a quarterback rating of 27.3, and lost to the Bengals 30-0.
Well, compared to my first start, that was a heck of a day.
All world. Off to Canton you go. Second drive. Baldwin. Forced out by Johnson, and then a hit. Late hit delivered by Eric Reed.
I think it's a good call, Joe. He was, whether his feet were out of bounds or not, he was out of bounds. Didn't need to come in and finish him off the way that he did. And the official was right there to make the call.
After the runner was out of bounds, personal foul. Defense number 35, 15 yards and a first down.
Even Jim Harbaugh doesn't have his heart into complaining about that. I mean, that was just dumb.
Well, and it's on the opposite side of the field from the 49ers and Jim Harbaugh, so he didn't get a great look at it. But he's arguing the call, and he is right. I mean, his feet had not yet touched out of bounds, but clearly he was on the way out, wasn't going to advance the ball. It was a good call.
So 15 free yards now. Lynch out across the 45. How about here in week 15, the early game leaders? Derek Anderson gets the start for Carolina. For the injured Cam Newton, they get a victory over Tampa Bay. Jeremy Hill, part of that win for Cincinnati. They needed that big day. Odell Beckham Jr., his star continues to shine, and 3 touchdowns. Who knows how good that kid's going to be.
I'm amazed with what he's been able to do. I've said it before. I think it's the hardest position to play as a young guy except quarterback.
Wilson in trouble and just throws it away. He got it back to the line of scrimmage. Lynch was pretty close to it. And Ahmad Brooks, who already has a sack, was there right in his face.
Yeah, you don't think Ahmad Brooks is still upset about not getting to play last week? He missed the meeting and he dressed, but he didn't get on the field. And he's had an up and down year. He reported to training camp he was overweight, tried to get that under control. He's had some other issues throughout the season, but he's off to a good start here today.
Was yelling at defensive line coach Jim Tomsula, was benched in the second half of the Giants. But he's charged up today. 3rd and 6. Quick throw, pass caught, first down, Seattle. Doug Baldwin. And on 3rd and 6, a gain of 11.
Well, you think back to last week and that loss to Oakland, some of the plays that the Raiders were able to get against this defense in the passing game when they were in zone coverage, they're in the intermediate zones against these linebackers. Doug Baldwin gets a free release off the ball, finds the hole, and Russell Wilson completes it.
There's the start for Wilson. Pass is low but caught, and then a vicious hit, and they're going to throw a flag on Reed. Pass caught by Richardson, the rookie, and then he got blasted above the shoulders.
Yeah, this is tough on a defensive back. You got to lower your target area a little bit, and that's what they're looking for on a defenseless receiver. And the question is, did he have the ball long enough to where he was then a runner and not a defenseless receiver? But I think this penalty is going to hold as the officials get together to talk about it. But that's awfully difficult on a defensive back trying to make a play.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense, number 35, hit against the defenseless receiver, 15 yards, first down.
Penalties have been a problem for Seattle this year. You see the reaction by Jim Harbaugh. They're the 13th most penalized team, but 2 personal fouls against Eric Reed on this drive alone.
Yeah, I think the first one that we saw along the sidelines he could have avoided, but this is it's a tough situation. As you see, Jim Harbaugh very upset with the call. It's the right call. It's the one they're trying to take away from the game, but when you've got a receiver who's going low as a defensive back trying to make a tackle, you can't always navigate then, where the head and neck area is going to be.
From the 20, Lynch, good play. And there he is again. Ahmad Brooks closing it down, getting his hands on Marshawn Lynch and helping to bring him to the turf.
Well, the last time these two teams met, Joe, Seattle did a nice job of being able to move the football between the 20-yard lines. But when they got down to this part of the field, they were unable to really punch it in and come away with touchdowns. Just 1 for 5 in the red zone, coming away with touchdowns. It's going to be important in this ball game that they score touchdowns and not having to settle for field goals.
Second and 9. Wilson in trouble. Out to his right. They just throw it away. Good pressure from the linebackers. Borland was in there. Then it was Jared Eddy from the defensive line that had pressure as well. So 3rd and 9.
Yeah, good job. Good scheme there by Vic Fangio. Leon McFadden, who was on the practice squad just a few weeks ago at corner. He comes on a corner blitz, and Russell Wilson doesn't see it, forces him to get rid of the ball.
Culliver, by the way, is inactive today. There's Vic Fangio. Out with a bad left knee that he hurt at Oakland. Same knee that cost him all of last year with a torn ACL. Extra men on the rush. Pass incomplete. And with a little pressure on Russell Wilson and a blitz called by Vic Fangio, it brings up 4th down.
Yeah, they bring Will Hoyt in the middle, number 57, and he has the free run on Wilson, forces him to get the ball out of his hands before he's ready. It's a good job defensively once again, holding this Seattle offense to a field goal opportunity.
Hauschka's missed only once this year. He's had 2 blocked. This from 38. And his season now 29 of 32. First points of the day. They belong to the Seahawks here in Seattle. Aerial coverage today provided by Nationwide. And that camera angle and that look can swing out over the field. It makes Troy happy, because then we all realize just how hard it is to play quarterback in the National Football League.
Amen.
9-play drive covering 62 yards. Hauschka ends the drive with a 38-yarder. Ellington gets around Lockett. Took a bad angle, and Ellington will get to the 30 and beyond, but a flag is down. Simon was there for the stop. Good return. We'll get the call from Ed Hockley, who has arms that are really made for the summer
During
outfit.
the return, holding receiving team number 14. A 10-yard penalty is enforced from the spot of the foul. San Francisco keeps the ball. After enforcement, 1st down.
It's against Kasim Osgood. Kaepernick and Bolden trying to figure it out. 3rd possession, down 3. Kasim Osgood was flagged for a takedown of Chris Matthews. Erased a good return by Ellington starting at the 15. Kaepernick is going to float it for Selleck. And the big tight end makes the catch. Sherman knocks him out. But a good play on a floater from Kaepernick for 30 yards.
Yeah, because there was good coverage right away. And so as Kaepernick comes back, he's trying to find an open guy and really nowhere to go with the football. But he buys some time. He had to be just a little bit nervous about making this throw. This is a throw that was similar to the one he tried last week. And that first possession against Oakland that resulted in an interception, but he's able to get the ball to Selleck in a nice gain.
Only Selleck's 2nd catch. His longest 30. Nowhere to go. Gore is bottled up. Cam Chancellor was up there and then lost his helmet, making the tackle a gain of 1.
Cam Chancellor, he's another one of those guys that is responsible for why this defense has gotten so good over the second half of the season. He was dealing with some injuries in the early part of the year as well. And you talk to anybody within the organization, Cam Chancellor is the undisputed leader of this defense. Not so much by what all he says, but the way in which he practices, and he has such a physical presence out there on the field.
Second down and 9. They stick with a run, and Gore is dragged down by Bennett. A loss of 3.
Well, another look at Michael Bennett, 72, and that's a couple times now they've just been unable to put a blocker on him. He's disruptive enough. When someone's assigned to block him, but when you turn him loose like that, you got no chance. He can run everything down from the backside.
Third down and 12. Four-man rush. Kaepernick down the middle. Bolden, nice catch for a first down. And he's going to take it inside the 40. They're going to mark him at the 40 and not get those extra yards. Good play and a big third down conversion.
Really good because it was a small window, and so Colin Kaepernick, he sees the hole, but he's got to throw a good ball in order to complete that pass. That's an excellent job converting on third down.
Here's Hyde. First run was a big run. This one good for 7. Nice pickup on first down, and we'll go back to that third down completion to Anquan Bolden.
Well, this is what you haven't seen enough of in recent weeks from Colin Kaepernick, being decisive in the pocket, seeing the coverage, knowing who the guy is that's the best opportunity to get the ball to. That was a big-time play.
Second and 3. Kaepernick keeps it, gets around Schofield, and is out of bounds with a first down. And they're going to give it to him as he picks up 3 along the sideline.
Yeah, well, Brian Schofield, he actually plays it pretty good, but it's just hard to get Colin Kaepernick on the ground in the open field one-on-one like that. So defensively, they were in the right place, but Colin Kaepernick shows what he's capable of doing.
They're in field goal range for Dawson. First down. Down by 3. Here's Hyde again. Carlos Hyde, another good run. And the rookie out of Ohio State gets 9, maybe 10, and that will be the end of quarter number 1. A tight first quarter here in Seattle. A game the 49ers need, a game the Seahawks need for positioning in the NFC playoff chase. That's the end of 1. Down by 3 of the 49ers, but they're on the move. They have a first down when we come back after this from your local Fox station. 49ers have lost the last 3 times here, including the NFC Championship game last January. That's us. We're in Seattle, one of the best venues in all of sports. Be a great place to host a Super Bowl. They could get on the list after watching Super Bowl 48 in New Jersey. This place is loud. Here's Gore. He gets a nice run. And prior to that, Seattle this season has given up 84 rush yards a game, 3.5 yards per rush. That one a 4-yard carry, 64 yards rushing already, and about 6 yards a carry for the 49ers.
Yeah, 49ers doing a nice job. That offensive line up front. Carlos Hyde's had a couple big runs already here in this first half.
Miller in motion, delayed handoff to Gore. Good blocking up front. And Gore is going to be about a yard, maybe a yard and a half shy of a first down. Kevin Williams on the tackle, and Richard Sherman was calling for somebody from the sideline to come over from San Francisco with a player down. It's Selleck. So we'll take a break, and they will check on Garrett Selleck, who has a 30-yard catch in this first half. Back after this.
This game is sponsored by Ford. Beautiful things happen when you go further.
On third down and 1, handoff to Gore, and Frank Gore didn't get it. Got to the 10. He is going to be about half a yard short of a first down. Cliff Averill makes the stop, and the decision here from Jim Harbaugh Early indication is he'll go for it.
I like the call here. I mean, points are hard to come by. He has an opportunity here on 4th down to go for the field goal, tie this game up. But this close, as well as the 49ers have been able to run the football, even though they didn't pick it up there on 3rd down, on the road, I like this decision.
And now a timeout is going to be taken by Seattle. And I'm with you. Why not? For San Francisco, it's been a season of turmoil, and nobody saw this coming for Jim Harbaugh's team. You look at some of the headlines, and these are official headlines from publications, and they're not good. Back-to-back weeks have not been good for Colin Kaepernick. And so despite the record for Jim Harbaugh of 48-20-1 and 3 straight trips to the NFC Championship game, I think it's just obvious that this is not going to continue for Harbaugh and the 49ers.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing when you think about it, when you consider how much success this team has had. The thought that you can win that many games in a 4-year period, 3 straight NFC Championship games, and no longer be the head coach.
We'll have more on that later. Here's a 4th and 1. And now the 49ers call a timeout. Play clock was at 5. So you watch Colin Kaepernick come back to the sideline. He'll talk to Jim Harbaugh. Here's our spot here in Seattle in this loud stadium. I'm Joe, that's Troy. Moody is not a good word to describe a quarterback. You were a quarterback for a long time in this league. Things go well, things don't go well. Kaepernick has been testy with the media. If you want to play that game, you kind of have to play that game if you're the mouthpiece for an organization, a quarterback. Kaepernick's got to play the game a little better.
I think he's learning that. I think he learned it really this week, and he started to play the game a little bit. I think beyond that, you know, being the spokesman for your team and the media and how you deal with them, that's a big part of being a quarterback. But also, the rest of the team kind of checks their temperature based on how the quarterback is feeling and how he's reacting. I think he's learned some things in that regard this year also.
Yeah, maybe learned it the hard way. Here it is, 4th and 1, play clock under 10. Hand off for the first down, Gore. First down, touchdown. Joe Staley, the left tackle, celebrating more than anybody out on that field because that offensive line just stepped up and they did their job.
Well, it's one of their staples. Right guard Alex Boone, you're going to see here, he comes out and he kicks out and leads the way. It's an excellent job by him. Bruce Miller, he does his job, and Boone, he's basically the lead blocker on the play, and Frank Gore gets in behind him. An outstanding job. Here they are hoping they just pick up the first down. They're able to get it all the way into the end zone.
They're going to make sure Gore got in, but Joe Staley, who was right at the heart of that block that helped pave the way for Frank Gore, was celebrating. He's been to the last 3 Pro Bowls, and that had to feel good after back-to-back losses. At home to Seattle, at Oakland, and now a 7-3 lead. Seahawks know they're in for a battle today. Gore on 4th down, not just a first down, but a touchdown. 7-3, San Francisco. This is how left tackles celebrate touchdowns. Do you think he liked that? You think that felt good? And Colin Kaepernick, guys with this organization will tell you he was more engaged this week in the locker room than he has been over the past few, and maybe something's clicked. The end of a couple of frustrating weeks for the 49ers and Kaepernick in particular. Here is Richardson, and he is brought down. L.J. McCray with a good play downfield. Saturday, the UFC returns to Fox Sports 1. The action starts at 7 Eastern. Streaming live also on Fox Sports Go. Lyoto Machida battling C.B. Dalloway. That's on Saturday at It's 7 Eastern. There's a scoring drive, and the 49ers lead the NFL in 5-minute drives. That was their 26th. That was impressive.
Sure was. They finished the drive off by coming away with a touchdown, and points, as I said, are hard to come by in this series.
Here's one down the middle, and now down to the sideline. It's Kearse. Launched out of the hand of Russell Wilson, and Jermaine Kearse says, what'd you expect? Cox on the coverage, a completion of 47.
Really an outstanding job. Jermaine Kearse, he takes an inside release because Paris Cox was playing to the outside. He keeps it up the rail, and Russell Wilson lays it in there perfectly. Not bad coverage by Paris Cox, but Russell Wilson, even with pressure in the pocket, was able to hang in there and get the throw off and make a perfect throw.
Here's Lynch. Borland was in there on the tackle, and then Aldon Smith as well. Let's go back to the 47-yarder to Jermaine Kearse.
You're going to see the pressure that Russell Wilson was under in the pocket. There was edge pressure and then someone right in his face, and yet he's able to step up and deliver a perfect throw. Big plays are hard to come by against this defense in the passing game.
Big plays downfield have been hard to come by for Seattle. Out of that wide receiver position. Good one to Kearse. Now quick throw. Pass is caught by Kearse again. To the ground he goes in the hands of Paris Cox. He's a half-yard shy of a first down. Third down coming up after that completion of 7 yards, and while the read option quarterbacks were all the rage in the NFL a couple of years ago, the guy who's still thriving is him, number 3, Russell Wilson. Talking about Cam Newton and RG3 and even Kaepernick. Wilson is standing taller than the rest. On 3rd and 1, Lynch picks it up. Let's go to Kurt Menefee with a game break.
Well, the Lions could take over the top spot in the NFC North because Green Bay lost at Buffalo, but first they got to get past the Vikings, and that's not proving easy. Greg Jennings' 8-yard score makes it 14-0 Minnesota in Detroit. Joe Troy and Aaron.
All right, Kurt, thanks. Who saw that coming? At least that start. Marshawn Lynch, by the way, now 9 for 10 on picking up first downs on 3rd and 1. He just did it. Wilson slings it, pass caught, flag down. Richardson inside the 10. Flag back at the 40.
I think they're going to get right tackle Justin Britt.
Holding offense, number 68. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat first down.
Justin Britt right here at right tackle. Ahmad Brooks uses a speed rush, and you see Britt just tackles him as he gets by him. It was a good job by Russell Wilson keeping the play alive and finding the open man, but it's coming back.
The rookie Britt has made all 13 starts. 2nd-round pick out of Missouri, and they've just plugged him in out at right tackle. He's done well.
Yeah, really the entire offensive line. They've had a number of lineup changes over the course of the year. Guys going down, and in fact, Justin Britt is the rookie, and J.R. Sweezy, they're the only 2 guys who have started every game for this offensive line.
Pass caught by Kearse. Wilhoit on the stop. So instead of a first down inside the 10, a 1st and goal, it became 1st and 20 now after a gain of 7, 2nd and 13.
And we'll see what Seattle's able to do to finish this drive, but we talked about it. Points are so hard to come by, and last time these 2 teams met, the Seattle Seahawks had to settle for a number of field goals. They have already here today. 49ers don't mind giving up some yardage, but they get awfully tough when you get down here in the red zone.
That got off to a funny start. Whistles stop play, and it's going to be a false start.
Before the ball was snapped, false start, offense, number 76. 5-yard penalty at 2nd down.
That is the Pro Bowler from 2012, Russell Okung. Got a little early start, so while we saw that highlight, In the NFC, a big loss for the Green Bay Packers in Buffalo. Rough day for Aaron Rodgers. Lowest quarterback rating of his career, 34.3. 21-13 loss at Buffalo, and all the other teams in the NFC thinking, man, maybe we don't have to go to Green Bay. Here's Wilson doing what he does, but nowhere to go. Well played defensively. Borland up finally to force Wilson out of bounds. Think about week 1. The NFL season got underway with Green Bay playing here in Seattle. Seattle thumped them, but it's bunched up. The Cardinals still on top, and now they've lost their second quarterback in Drew Stanton. They're down to Ryan Lindley. Stanton's out for, at best, a month. So right now it's anybody's guess.
Anybody's guess. Cardinals really, I mean, have found ways to win the last couple of weeks, just hanging on tough when you got your backup. Now with your third guy.
3rd and 17. From behind, brought down is Wilson by Scuda. And this defense is off to a good start for San Francisco.
Well, they sure are. They tighten up. Of course, some penalties against this Seattle offense. Good coverage down the field. And then Dan Scuda comes in and finishes Russell Wilson off. 4th sack of the year for Scuda. It forces a punt. So that was a big hold against Justin Britt that moved the ball from inside the 10 back outside field goal range, and Ryan hits it end over end. Ellington, flag flies. Fair catch inside the 15. The flag is down after a 27-yard punt. We get the call from Ed Hockley. There was nobody in the NFC lining up hoping to go to Green Bay in January for the playoffs. I mean, they look invincible at home. They
During
do.
the kick, holding by the receiving team, number 36. Half the distance from the goal, from where the ball was caught. San Francisco keeps the ball, 1st down.
There's the penalty on Nante Johnson. Opportunity for Seattle as well with that Green Bay loss. We'll talk about that later.
Game is sponsored by Beats by Dr. Dre Solo 2. Show us your solo.
Starting at their own 6, up by 4. And a game they have to have. Handoff is to Gore. A pickup of 2, and we go down to Aaron Andrews after Bobby Wagner made that stop.
Joe, an update on tight end Garrett Selleck for you. He did leave the field, go to the locker room, and have that left ankle examined. He is questionable. He's back on the sidelines now with that ankle elevated. They're trying to tape him up. No word yet if he's going to return.
Yeah, Aaron, they're really thin at tight end. They have Derek Carrier and Vance McDonald now on IR. He went on recently with a bad back. So now just Vernon Davis and Asante Cleveland, the rookie. Here's Gore. Nothing.
You look at this right now. San Francisco backed up and just trying to protect the ball as best they can, hoping they're able to get a 1st down running the football, give their punter or get it off the goal line. But right now they're going to the empty set. See if they can pick up this 1st down.
On 3rd down and 8. Kaepernick finds his man. He's got Lloyd, and he's got a big 1st down. Brandon Lloyd with a gain of 12. Richard Sherman on the stop, but a nice conversion.
Yeah, really nice. And these are the kinds of things you have to be able to do against the Seattle Seahawks defensively. Richard Sherman, who's in coverage, man-to-man. The shallow crossing routes is where you then maybe have an advantage if you can get a step. He's able to on Sherman and picks up the 1st down. It's an excellent job.
Kaepernick steps up, wants to run. Kaepernick out across the 40. A big run by number 7. Earl Thomas on the tackle, a gain of 22.
And this is because Michael Bennett, he's able to come off the edge here working against Jonathan Martin, and it forces Kaepernick to step up in the pocket. Looked like Bobby Wagner was there. He was unable to make a play. You know, Colin Kaepernick really has not been much of a factor running the football since the first month of the season. Hasn't gotten a lot of yards, but a big gain there.
They fake it to Hyde. It's Kaepernick over the right side. And with the 49ers over 100 rushing yards on the day, Kaepernick picks up 2.
Well, at the time it was a designed run the entire time. Kaepernick was going to keep it. Didn't get much out of the play, but trying to do what they can to allow Kaepernick to do the things that really put pressure on a defense.
Kaepernick avoids a sack and then finds Miller. The fullback still rolling down inside the 35. And an injury on the far side of the field. That's Gore. And a guy who was an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year and who has spent his entire 10-year career with the 49ers and led them in rushing yards every year, is down, getting attention, and a nice pickup with Miller as the release valve for Kaepernick.
Yeah, and it was Colin Kaepernick who was able to make that play because Kevin Williams got the pressure on him and just was unable to get to Kaepernick. He buys some time and finds Miller and a big gain. Frank Gore tried to get up off the turf. They pushed him back down, but he sure looked like he was in a lot of pain there when he initially went to the turf.
Here's Gore coming across, trying to deliver a block on Wagner. And then he just went down. Grabbing at the... Let's take another look. He hits him with the right side, the right shoulder. And then I saw the same thing. He tried to get up. They pushed him back down, but now he's up and looks to be okay. But a first down now inside the 35.
Yeah, Frank Gore he's as tough as they come, and a guy who I've really enjoyed watching over the years. And it seems that each season they kind of want to reduce his workload and think that things are starting to wind down, and he proves everybody wrong. He's been one of the more consistent performers, not only this year but for the past several years.
Clock winds down toward 4 minutes left first half. 49ers with the ball up by 4. Kaepernick brought down. Play is made with Williams and Averill. A loss of 2. Look at the difference. With a total yards allowed, already more today, way more today than all of last week at Philadelphia.
This 49ers offense has really done a nice job, and this drive here is a win already for San Francisco in that they were able to flip field position. The second quarter here winding down, but just an outstanding job backed up and being able to move the ball the way that they have.
And now with time winding down, a timeout taken, the 49ers lead the NFL in delay of game penalties. And they didn't want another. They have to use their second timeout. Third down's a big reason why. This drive started at the San Francisco 6 with just under 8 to go. Now they've moved it to the Seattle 36 with just over 3 left. If you love high drama and amazing music, Empire is the show for you. Starring Terrence Howard as a hip-hop mogul and Taraji P. Henson as his just out of prison ex-wife. Empire premieres Wednesday, January 7th, as we are rolling in the playoffs at that time here on Fox. 2nd and 12 as they continue to look at Frank Gore. Kaepernick keeping it. Nice play off the edge by K.J. Wright. Loss of 1.
Well, that's a really good job by Seattle. Prepared for the read option. They crash with Cliff Averill. That's what forces Kaepernick then to pull it. K.J. Wright, who had split out over the wide receiver in the slot position, he then was responsible for Kaepernick with the keeper.
3rd and 13. Kaepernick sacked. Hill made the play.
Really pick a guy, Joe, because they were all getting pressure. Bruce Irvin comes off the edge. He's the guy who initially forces Kaepernick to start looking around, and Jordan Hill, who has really come on and done an outstanding job with an interior push, finishes him off.
Would have been a 55-yard try from where the snap was before the snack. Jordan Hill really playing well. Big sack for the Seahawks. You can follow your favorite team all season long. Just go to itunes.com/NFL. The sack by Jordan Hill forces the punt. Seattle defensively over the last 3 games had allowed only 9 conversions on 34 third down tries overall. It was a third down stop by Hill. San Francisco, as a fair catch, is hauled in by Walters. Now 3 for 7 on third down today. They lead by 4. And a celebration for that defense. You know that guy, Troy.
I sure do.
Kenny Norton. Seahawks have it, down 4. Kaepernick, end zone. Broken up. This game is over. It's America's Game of the Week, and it's one of the best rivalries in the NFL. Jim Harbaugh and the 49ers, Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. Seattle has the football, only their 4th possession. Quick throw, pass caught. That's Curse. It's 9. 2 timeouts left for Seattle. They've gone punt, field goal, punt on their first 3 possessions.
Well, I know San Francisco offensively disappointed. They weren't able to come away with any points on that drive. They were moving the ball well, but like I said, I think it was a winning possession on their part from where they started the drive, backed up, switching field position. Now see whether or not this defense can make a stop before the end of this first half.
Yeah, that drive started inside the 10. Down the sideline, what a try, but no catch. Curse had it for a moment and then lost it. Boy, that was close. Now 3rd and 1.
You're going to see as Jermaine Kearse goes up to make a play on this ball, and looked like he had it there for a moment, but gets away from him. That's one of the things Russell Wilson really likes about him. Every time we talk to him, when he speaks of Jermaine Kearse, he talks about this catch radius, that he can put the ball virtually anywhere.
Here's a carry by Turbin. He picks up a first down. Clock will wind. You think about that NFC Championship game. It ended 23-17 Seattle. 49ers led that game for 35.5 minutes. Wilson out to his left, trying to get out of bounds, and he will. But he went out, marked a yard shy of a first down after he went around Eric Reed. By the way, that interception that became famous, the tip by Richard Sherman into the arms of Malcolm Smith, that ball was snapped at the 18-yard line with the 49ers a chance to win that game.
Well, and Colin Kaepernick learned again the last time these two teams met. You got to be real careful with the football when you're throwing it to Richard Sherman in his direction. He had 2 interceptions there on Thanksgiving night.
Here's Wilson. He is going to get rid of it somehow in the arms of Aaron Lynch. Pass incomplete. 3rd and 1 coming up with 40 seconds left in the half.
Aaron Lynch, one of those rookies who, yep, he got it out before the knee goes to the ground. Aaron Lynch, who's come on here in the last several games, coming away with some sacks.
Turning into a steal in the 5th round out of South Florida. 2 sacks, but they've had Russell Wilson under pressure the entire first half. The 49ers defense. Here's Turbin right side. He's got the first down and plenty more. Out of bounds at the 50 with 34 seconds to go.
Well, Justin Britt at right tackle does a good job here, and then Borland at linebacker, he's the only one to try to make a play to keep Turbin from picking up this first down. Borland, who's stepped in and really has been, he's been exceptional. Just unable to get to him in time.
Extra men on the rush, and down goes Wilson. A sack for McDonald. His 3rd of the year, and Ray McDonald with a big play and a loss of 9. The guys are coming at us soon. What's coming up at halftime?
Coming up on the Visa halftime, a big day in the NFL as Tom Brady and the Patriots locked up the AFC East. Andrew Luck and the Colts locked up the AFC South. And Johnny Manziel made his not-so-illustrious first start. Highlights and more on the Visa halftime.
And from that to the NFC playoff picture, which is really bunched up. And how about the play by McDonald?
Yeah, J.R. Sweezy, the right guard, he kind of lunges to try to block Ray McDonald, and he goes right by him. And well, Russell Wilson can navigate a lot of pressure, but it's difficult when it's right in your face.
Ball will be snapped at the Seahawks 41. They have to get to the 49er 40 for a first down.
Number 64. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
When you talk about Seattle, you expect false starts from the opposition playing in this stadium, but it's the Seahawks that have the most false starts in the NFL.
Yeah, it's amazing. Russell Okung, the left tackle, he had one already earlier in the game, and now J.R. Sweezy, and especially here at home, you wouldn't expect that. But they've had problems with it all year.
It's their 3rd of the day. 2nd and 24 now, making it harder on Russell Wilson. So is this defense. That one floated, has a man. Pass caught. Baldwin. The clock will wind.
Well, that job by Russell Wilson keeping this play alive, and this is where the Seattle Seahawks get dangerous. Doug Baldwin, how many times you see this? His quarterback's in trouble. He tries to find an open spot within the defense, and Wilson lays this ball beautifully.
35-yard completion, and after hurrying down the field, a timeout taken by the sideline, and it's the final timeout for Seattle. Some nice things were said about Jim Harbaugh this week. Fantastic football coach. A great competitor, a stud. Who said all this stuff? His longtime rival Pete Carroll.
That was interesting talking with Pete Carroll, and you know that rivalry has really become something because of these 2 head coaches and because of these teams and what's been at stake. And I asked Pete Carroll, I said, tell the truth, you're going to miss him when he's gone. And he said, hey, Jim Harbaugh has made the Seahawks a better team, and I think the Seahawks have made the 49ers a better team also.
They coached against each other in college. Here's one, broken up. And a good play is made by Leon McFadden. As you said, recently off the practice squad, he knocked it away from Doug Baldwin.
He makes a nice play on this ball, and you know, he's been forced into duty because of Chris Culliver going down with a knee injury last week. He had to come in and play, and now he's getting some snaps here in this game.
Remember, no timeouts left for Seattle. They're going to have to get something into the end zone, 13 seconds left, or to the sideline to make the field goal try easier for Hauschka. Lynch has been off the field for the majority of this drive at 2nd and 10.
I would expect Russell Wilson to maybe try to get something to the sidelines to just add to the field goal chance.
Timeout San Francisco. That's their 3rd and final timeout.
It'd be a 47-yard try from this spot if Seattle does not pick up any more yardage. as we continue the theme with these two guys. They've had their words in the past, but there's plenty of mutual respect, and I would imagine in the coaching ranks for what Harbaugh has dealt with this year, whether you're Pete Carroll or any other coach, either in college or the NFL, you realize that when a head coach is kind of in that box, and that's where Harbaugh is right now with what's going on with the 49ers. I think everybody takes a little bit of sympathy for you.
Well, I think so. I think the coaches kind of rally for one another because, you know, this business is tough. Even as good as Seattle has played here recently, even Pete Carroll said, hey, you know, it's fleeting. You got to enjoy the moments while they're there. And nobody understands that better right now than what Jim Harbaugh does.
2nd down and 10. Time winding down and not on the same page with the rookie Richardson. Now 3rd down and 10, and how much more aggressive do you want to be? If you get a sack, the half's over. If you don't get something quick to the sideline and get out of bounds, you don't get the field goal try, and they are within range. Right now it would be, as I said, a 47-yard try from this spot.
Yeah, that's why I really expect them just to throw something quick to the sideline and get the completion and get out of bounds.
Blitz. Wilson steps into it and he's picked off. That's Reed. And Eric Reed is going to return it. No time left on the clock. He's got some blocking. Can he stay in bounds? He can, but cannot get to the end zone. And so a guy who was called for 2 personal fouls during this first half, Eric Reed, gets his 3rd interception, and Russell Wilson threw it right to him.
Well, they ran 4 verticals, so even if he catches this ball, if Russell Wilson makes a good throw to Doug Baldwin, he would have to score, or they're not going to come away with any points. It's a high throw. For a minute there, Joe, it looked like a replay of James Harrison in that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, where he might take it all the way to end this half with a touchdown.
The half ends with the interception. They're checking on the health of Chris Borland on the sideline. 7-3 at the half. Kurt, guys, take it away. Man, there was a lot that happened on that final play of the first half. It's America's game of the week. San Francisco needs it bad. They're only a game over 500 at 7-6. Today's excitement brought to you by Nissan, and the excitement's been brought by the 49ers defense with 3 sacks. They've got the interception to end the half, and we showed you during halftime, Borland got hurt on the return. Russell Okung got hit and was spitting out blood as he was making his way back to the locker room. Borland looks like he's at least going to try it. They're getting awfully thin at linebacker now too, the 49ers. And for Russell Wilson, his first interception in 138 attempts. It was the longest streak active in the NFL before the pick to deny points. Richardson will take a knee, and we will take it down to Aaron Andrews.
All right, so let's update you on everybody's injury. Let's start with San Francisco. Linebacker Chris Borland, ankle injury, questionable to return. Tight end Garrett Selleck, ankle injury, questionable to return. But the biggest one, guys, running back Frank Gore, concussion, out for this game. You mentioned the 49ers defense, Joe. I asked Jim Harbaugh your thoughts on it. He said, my thoughts, they look good.
They do look good. He is a man of few words at times, and then at other times Jim will quote Winston Churchill. Big history buff is Jim Harbaugh. Here's Lynch. He has been pretty quiet. He's out to the 25. A gain of 5, and we look at the statistics from the first half, and a really good first half for San Francisco, although only up 4 points.
Yeah, no, it was a good first half. Defensively, they did a nice job. Seattle moved the ball, especially the last 2 drives, and they left points on the board. They had penalties on the one drive that knocked them then out of field goal range, and then, of course, on the last drive with the interception. Just a really poor decision on Russell Wilson's part.
You can see Okung is not in there. Lynch has got a first down. It's a chest injury for Russell Okung. His return is doubtful. Alvin Bailey is now out at left tackle. And we had that shot of Okung complaining about blood in his mouth, then shoving one of the assistants for Seattle, spitting out blood, and we may not see Russell Okung the rest of the day. Here's that shot. And you can see how frustrated he is with a member of the training staff, and then he would go on to spit blood out on his way back to the locker room. Here's Lynch. They're going to get him rolling now, and Marshawn Lynch picks up 6 yards, brought down by McDonald.
Well, the 49ers, they brought in Nick Moody on that first down play, and then they brought back Borland on the last play. And just watching him from here, Joe, he's not moving particularly well. You wouldn't expect him to with an ankle injury. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he's able to hold up and finish this game, but it is noticeable that he's in some pain.
He's been a tackling machine for San Francisco. Stood out to Russell Wilson when he was watching the game film. Here is Turbin. And they're going to mark him down shy of the 45, picked up 3, and now Borland's going to come off the field with a 3rd and short coming up, 3rd and less than a yard.
I don't know if he's going to go. You talk about him being a tackling machine. I mean, it's amazing. Just in the last 7 games, 122 tackles coming into this game, averaging about 17 tackles a game, and doing the things really that he did there in college in Wisconsin.
3rd round pick this year. Here is Lynch. He's got a first down, but a flag is thrown. The indication is it's against Seattle. It's an illegal motion.
Boy, just a lot of penalties again here today for Seattle. That's been a problem for them all season long.
You can see Lockett moving forward.
Yeah, once he starts to move forward, that was a point of emphasis last season, and it's a costly penalty. It's 3rd and short, and now you're looking at 3rd and 6.
Yeah, 3rd and short, and they had picked it up. Now they have to try and do it again from 5 yards farther away. Seahawks have had 4 pre-snap penalties. Somehow Wilson stays upright. Pass is broken up. No flag. Wilson, the intended target. Dante Johnson was back there in coverage, and Aldon Smith somehow missed a sack.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Aldon Smith missed Russell Wilson, but Luke Wilson, on the other hand, looked like he had a step there on Dante Johnson, but Wilson unable to get enough on it to lead him. The 49ers force a punt.
Pete Carroll ran about 30 yards to let the official downfield have it. They're not throwing a flag. Ellington lets it go over his head, and that's going to be tapped down inside the 5. Pete Carroll wanted a flag. Second oldest coach active in the NFL, but he can still move, and let him have it.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com.
Wenatchee, Washington, that's a Mission Ridge Ski and Board Resort about 2.5 hours east of Seattle. Now starting at their own 4. With all that noise, Gore is out. Kaepernick under center. It's Hyde. He's looked good today. Spinning his way out near the 9. Picks up 5.
Well, the 49ers were backed up there in that first half inside the 10-yard line, and they were able to get it past midfield, and they're hoping to pick up a first down here. But Carlos Hyde, you're right, Joe. He is obviously going to get the carries now with Frank Gore's condition, but he has looked good in this ball game. I know they liked him coming into the year. He's a big back, but he moves extremely well. He's got great quickness.
Gore out with a concussion. 2nd down and 5. Kaepernick. Miller wasn't ready for it. Nearly picked. That was Wagner with a diving try, and we go back to the injury to Frank Gore on this completion to Miller. Delivered a block into the left arm of Bobby Wagner, and he got the concussion.
Yeah, pretty scary. It didn't look like, much of a hit as you see all the plays there on Colin Kaepernick's play sheet on his wrist. Big third down here.
Third down and 5. Good blocking. Passes caught, and that's good for a first down. Crabtree. And the first catch for Crabtree is good for a first down.
You see the pocket that the 49ers are able to give Colin Kaepernick. Nobody right in his face. He's able to deliver to the ball with authority to Crabtree, who gets his first reception of the day. Haven't been very many completions in this ball game. Hard to get him to the wide receivers against this defense.
We're going to get a challenge here from Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll throws the challenge flag. He is 2 for 6 on challenges.
Seattle is challenging the ruling on the field that the pass was complete.
See if he makes the catch continuing to the ground. Does he maintain control? Looks like that one's going to be tough to overturn. Seahawks challenge it.
Game is sponsored by Pizza Hut. We're taking pizza where it's never been before.
We'll get the call right now from Ed Hockley.
The ruling on the field stands as called. Although the ball is moving, we cannot tell whether he's lost control of the ball or whether the ball is rolling on the ground. Therefore, the ruling stands. Seattle is charged to timeout.
There you go. Mike Pereira agreed. We checked in with him. You see Richard Sherman coming into this day. When Colin Kaepernick is thrown to a player defended by Richard Sherman, he is 8 for 24, no touchdowns, 6 picks, and a quarterback rating of 13.9. He's completed a couple at Sherman today. Here's Hyde. Penalty flag is thrown, and it's thrown by Ed Hockley. Good run by Hyde, but
holding, offense number 45, 10-yard penalty, half the distance to the goal, repeat first down.
That's the rookie tight end. That's who they're down to, Asante Cleveland.
Yeah, they got Asante Cleveland in there trying to slow down Michael Bennett. Right here in the middle, and he definitely grabs a hold of him in Cleveland. One of those guys also who was just signed off the practice squad a couple of weeks ago, and here he is playing in a big game for this 49er team.
They lost Selleck today to an ankle injury. Vance McDonald on IR. Jim Tomsula tries to pump him up on the sideline. That moves the ball all the way back inside the 10. Hand off to Hyde. With under 10 to go, third quarter. Hyde picks up 5, brought down by Bruce Irvin.
Yeah, big penalty then on Asante Cleveland, because the 49ers, they were able to move the football. They were able to get it going after starting the drive backed up. It was a nice move by Carlos Hyde on the run that got called back.
Yeah, I said a couple. He's 5 for 5. Kaepernick throwing in Sherman's direction. Second and 12. Crabtree nowhere to go, and he gets hit after getting swarmed by the Seahawks defense. A gain of just 3. Third and long coming up. Thomas and Wright on the stop.
Yeah, they haven't challenged Richard Sherman deep, though.
That's correct.
That's when you got to be real precise with the ball. I wouldn't even try it based on the success that he's had against these 49ers. But they have run the shallow crossing routes. They've completed them, but not for much.
Been in a lot of third and longs today. Average just under 3rd and 8. This is 3rd and 9. Blitz. Kaepernick in trouble. Sacked. It was Wagner. Not a big middle linebacker, but he may be the quickest in the NFL.
Well, they got Bruce Miller in a position to try to make the block as he comes across, but Bobby Wagner just does an excellent job of defeating the block and then getting Kaepernick to the ground. So this defense, aided by the penalty then on Asante Cleveland, they're going to give the offense good field position.
Seattle with 4 sacks in this game. They threw a flag prior to the snap. One of the Seattle defenders came across, and then movement followed. Was there movement first by a 49er? We'll see.
Neutral zone infraction defense. 5-yard penalty. It's 4th down.
Probably worth the risk if you can get a jump. After the sack by Wagner, it will move the ball outside the 16-yard line, but Seattle should end up with good field position with Brian Walters waiting for the punt from Andy Lee. Hangs it high. Walters gets hit immediately by Kasim Osgood. 44-yard punt, nothing on the return. It's America's game of the week, and a good one in the NFC West.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Game of War. Play free now.
One of the more iconic moments in Seattle sports history. How did Monet predict that? It was painted by Ken Zarin at the Nordstrom Gallery in Bellevue, Washington. From the 40. Wilson. Slow start for him. Lynch out of the backfield. Tackle made by Nick Moody, a gain of 7. Russell Wilson is now 10 for 20 for right around 150 yards. No touchdowns and a pick.
Well, I think Vic Fangio, again, defensive coordinator for the 49ers, has to be pleased with what he's seen of his defense. And I know he was really disappointed last week. They gave up some drives and the pass rush was not as good as he expects, but they've been really good in that department today.
Here's Lynch left side, first down. Still going down to the 40. 13-yard run and the longest of the day for Marshawn Lynch.
You just keep feeding him the ball and he's going to start breaking off some big runs. A hard man to bring to the ground. It's a good job by Marshawn Lynch. Everybody's wondering whether he's going to be back. They're going to give him a contract, or if he's going to retire. There's been some speculation that he may hang him up. Who knows?
Signed through next year. Kristen Michael right side, down inside the 40 to the 39. Perfect time to check in with Kurt Menefee with a game break.
Well, Peyton Manning didn't throw a touchdown pass last week. Left today's game with a thigh injury. He's corrected both. Back in the game, hooks up with Demaryius Thomas for a 28-yard score, and they lead at 16-3 in San Diego at the start of the fourth quarter. Today, Troy and Aaron.
Troy, you threw to a great number 88 in your days with Dallas, but that Demaryius Thomas is just a beast on the outside for Peyton Manning.
Great size, speed, and he's really come into his own with Peyton Manning as his quarterback.
Said he'd give a hometown discount if they want to lock him up. Here's Lynch. He is starting to roll. And Earl Thomas gets right into his face and says, come on, keep it going.
Alvin Bailey makes a nice block at the tackle position, and Marshawn Lynch, he finishes off these runs. Even Russell, you hear this job Doug Baldwin does. These wide receivers do an outstanding job in the running game. A lot asked of them, and Marshawn Lynch waves in Kristen Michael to come into the game after that run.
They fake it to him. A move by Wilson. Got a man. Pass is caught, but out of bounds. They're going to say by Moiaki. Tony was signed on November 4th. It's his 5th game. Made the attempt. Had had it and trapped it.
Yeah, just unable to finish the play, and boy, they've really needed him. I mean, they signed him a few weeks back. He steps in, had a big gain against these San Francisco 49ers, 63-yarder on Thanksgiving night, but with the issues that they've had at the tight end position, they've desperately needed him to step up. He's done a pretty good job for him.
Here's Lynch, good play by Jared Eddy. No gain on the play, and now it's 3rd down and 10, and this is an opportunity for the 49er defense to make a big 3rd down stop.
Yeah, once again, I mean, they've gotten into a pretty good position. The Seattle Seahawks have, in being able to at least try to come away with 3 points, and a couple of times they've been unable to do it, especially right there before the end of the half. But here they are with a 3rd down, and 49ers have been tough.
And Hockley needs a moment.
The clock has stopped. Please reset it to 4:41. There should be 4:41 on the clock.
So on the Fox box and here in the stadium, it said 5:04, now 4:41. 3rd down and 10.
Well, 3rd and long, and these defensive ends, I mean, they're going to pin their ears back and they're going to get up the field, and somebody's got to be able to contain Wilson. This is when he gets dangerous, whether it's him scrambling or buying time outside the pocket.
Showing blitz, they don't come with it. Wilson steps into it, pass caught, and a 1st down conversion to Paul Richardson. Good arm strength shown by Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he's got a clean pocket. As you see, just a 4-man rush, no pressure to speak of. This is a heck of a catch by Richardson at the top of the route. He's expecting that ball to the inside. And even with Cox playing outside leverage, once he comes back to the football, able to use those hands to make the catch. It's an excellent job by the rookie.
11 yards on 3rd and 10. Hard to believe the Seahawks are that bad in the red zone as Lynch takes it right side. Good movement up front. And it was Quentin Dial who forced that play and helped get Lynch to the ground. No gain.
I talked a little bit about Quentin Dial earlier and the job that he's done, having to step in for Ian Williams, who is on IR, and of course Glenn Dorsey is put on IR this week, didn't play all season. But in the run game, he has been very effective.
Now 2nd and 10. Here's somebody from the 49er defense yell, it's a run. They were right. It's Turbin. Turbin is going to be knocked down a yard shy of a 1st down as he went right through Buffet.
Yeah, they've got the perfect defense on. Buffet is right in the hole to make the tackle on Turbin, and he just fails to make it. Turbin breaks the tackle right there. Otherwise, they're looking at 3rd and long, and instead it's 3rd and short.
Something the 49ers saw on film told them that when Marshawn Lynch split out, that they were going to run the ball. They did, and they picked up 9. Here's Lynch cutting it back. Touchdown! On top.
Well, Marshawn Lynch, you can see the job that he does, and Dan Skuta is trying to fight off a blocker to make a play. It's just not going to happen, and it's an excellent job finishing the drive by the Seattle Seahawks.
10-7 with 2:19 left, 3rd quarter. It was Turbin with a big run on that drive through Buffet to set it up. Lynch did the honors. Marshawn Lynch with a 4-yard touchdown run, also had carries of 13 and 15 yards on that drive. 40 total. Just under 5.5 minutes off the clock, and back in front, Seattle. Here's Ellington from the end zone. Well covered and down inside the 20 as Earl Thomas made the play. The All-Pro safety covering kicks.
As a kid that loves sports, to grow up in a town where you get to root for Willie Mays, I mean, there ain't nothing better than that. But as far as the Niners were concerned, you know, going to Kezar, my dad working through Golden Gate Park in those games and the cigar smoke and the old guys, that made the whole setting. I grew up with a very rich sports, kind of affiliation.
Grew up in Marin County. Mentioned earlier, second oldest head coach in the National Football League. You'd never know it. And from owner to GM to head coach, they are really in good shape here in Seattle.
Well, it's a special chemistry that he and the general manager, John Schneider, have. And he trusts John Schneider and supports him exclusively. And John Schneider does the same. And believe me, I've seen dysfunction up close. It's happening in San Francisco. But they've got something really special happening in Seattle.
Here's Hyde wrestled to the ground. Wagner, ball came out. Nobody's blown a whistle yet. Now they do. Looked like he was down clearly, but no whistle. But they're going to say he was down officially. Let's take a look. Yeah, easily down and somehow able to get up after getting bent over backward. Now he gets up limping. Alfonso Smith, free agent out of Kentucky, is going to come in. So they're down Gore with a concussion, and who knows what this is going to lead to for Carlos Hyde.
Not sure exactly what happened to Carlos Hyde. It looked like it might have been the ankle that got pinned back, and he was having himself a nice afternoon. And with Frank Gore already out, they're in a tough position now, having to rely on Alfonso Smith.
He came on the field, now checks out. Bruce Miller behind Kaepernick and whistles before the snap.
Timeout Seattle. That's their second.
So Seattle forced to take their second timeout defensively. Take a look ahead. Seattle's in a great spot as you look at the rest of the schedule. And there it is next week. It'll be week 16 around the NFL. And we'll give you a look at the playoff picture. They're the division leaders. Arizona at 11-3, but they've lost their quarterback after losing their quarterback. So they're down to Ryan Lindley. And this Seattle team is at Arizona next week, and they finish the season at home against Seattle. And if they win here today and win out, they not only would win this division, but have a real good shot now at the #1 seed.
Yeah, you said earlier, hey, nobody was too excited about having to travel and play postseason in Green Bay. Well, the same holds true for anyone having to come here and play in Seattle.
Now Smith in the backfield with Kaepernick. On second down, Kaepernick finds a man but missed. A wide open Anquan Boldin. He was left all alone, and Kaepernick somehow missed him.
Yeah, he did such a great job, too, of buying some time in the pocket. And he had Anquan Boldin wide open, was able to get set, and should have been able to deliver a better throw. But you look back on a game, and those are the types of missed opportunities that come back to haunt you.
Only one catch for Boldin. Kaepernick, down he goes, back at the 10. Jordan Hill again, his second of the day, and he's really coming on.
You see across the board, man coverage, and just an excellent job of plastering to the receivers, and Kaepernick had nowhere to go with the football. Looked like initially he was trying to get the ball to Brandon Lloyd on the shallow crossing route, but Jordan Hill able to get the pressure, and Bobby Wagner finishes him off.
That's the 5th sack of Kaepernick in this game. And after the touchdown, a 3 and out. Line drive punt, good distance, a chance for Walters maybe. Goes right through 2. and then hit a wall inside the 45. The wall named Michael Wilhoit. 19-yard return. Wilhoit slow to get up. Seattle with a football. Up 3.
Yeah, this 12th man is for real.
Woo! It is loud in this place. America's Game of the Week in Seattle, where the Seahawks are 22-2 here since the start of 2012. The best home winning percentage in the NFL. Go back to the injury to Michael Wilhoit, who made the hit right here. He gets shoved from behind into the ball carrier Walters by Mike Morgan. No flag is thrown, and thankfully, as he's pointing to where it hurts him on his back, Wilhoit appears to be okay. They can't lose any more linebackers, any more running backs or tight ends. It's getting thin. Best starting field position for the Seahawks, up 3. Lynch inside the 40 to the 39.
Well, Seattle starting this drive with great field position, and now the burden's on the 49ers defensively and being able to make a stop. Seattle starting to get things going offensively, moving the football, and second halves haven't been good to the 49ers, and offensively again in this game they have struggled. Of course, you'd expect some of that against this Seattle defense, but during that first half they did a good job of moving the football.
Here's Wilson keeping it. Fooled everybody. Out of bounds at the 20. And that'll be it for quarter number 3 when they restart the clock. A 19-yard carry for number 3.
Well, he's dangerous, as we know. He's picked up a lot of yards this year running the football. Some of that off of scrambles, and then some of it, like we just saw, off of that read option.
A record in the stadium today, 68,526. Witness that run. Let's go to the 4th. Back after this from your local Fox station. There's Joe Montana on the left. The beloved Jim Zorn on the right. All Montana, not the entire Montana family is here, but witnessing this game. We saw Ken Griffey Jr. here in the stadium today. Good matchup, part of a record crowd here at CenturyLink Field. On first down, start of the 4th quarter, Lynch right side. Pushing the pile to the 15, again a 5. We look at total yards by half in this second half. San Francisco offensively with 6.
Yeah, just have been unable to really get anything going. You know, they were backed up on that last possession, but right now for this 49ers defense, this is important because the offense is struggling and they can ill afford to allow this to become a 2-possession game.
2nd and 5. Wilson spins out of it, gets away from Aldon Smith, now goes right back to him. Has a man, but out of the back of the end zone is Michael. Third and 5.
How about that? It was so close too, and Russell Wilson saw him and he was under pressure, and you can see as he avoids the sack from Aldon Smith, but then he sees Michael and he tries to get the ball to him before he gets to the back of the end zone. I think Michael kind of lost track of where he was on the field as well, but the 49ers completely turn him loose.
3rd down and 5. Big 3rd down obviously for this 49er defense. And now a timeout taken with a play clock about to run out. That's the final timeout already for Seattle in what is right now a 3-point game before a 3rd down coming up. And today 7 for 12 on 3rd down are the Seahawks. It is the last week to vote for the 2015 Pro Bowl. Select the best players regardless of conference. Then Chris Carter and Michael Irvin will draft teams as alumni captains. Vote now at NFL.com/Pro Bowl ballot. Voting ends Monday night.
The Pro Bowl thing's pretty cool when you get voted on by, now the fans have been involved in it for a number of years, but used to when I was playing, it was the coaches and players that did the voting, and to get the opportunity to go play in Hawaii was pretty special. They've changed it up a little bit. We got Coach Irvin and Coach Carter drafting their teams, but these guys always look forward to seeing if they're going to be voted in each year.
It's 3rd down and 5. Byproduct of being out of timeouts is Seattle cannot challenge the rest of the way. 3rd down and 5. Blitz. Wilson hangs in, floats it. It is incomplete, but a flag is down where Wilson was hit. And Nick Moody gets up complaining. We'll get the call.
Personal foul, roughing the quarterback. Helmet to the chest of the quarterback. 15 yards, 1st down.
I didn't see it. I don't know what a guy's supposed to do. He didn't hit him in the head. He came in and, he keeps his head up. Nick Moody's the one who makes contact first. I don't know who they're calling, but I think it's a terrible call, and that's a costly penalty right now in this ball game. They would have been having to settle for a field goal. Jim Harbaugh can't believe it.
Harbaugh's looking now at the big screen. You heard Ed Hockley say helmet to the chest of the quarterback. Isn't that where they try to hit him?
Man, I don't know. They get you if you lower your head, but he didn't lower his head. He kept his head up, and just a terrible call.
Terrible call, and could be just crushing for the 49ers. Good play here as Marshawn Lynch ran in first to the arms of Dante Johnson. But instead of a field goal after the incompletion because of that call, this drive continues. Maybe we'll get a chance to check in with Mike Pereira. Jim Harbaugh is livid on the sideline because it certainly looked like Moody had his face up.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I mean, I'm all for player safety, but come on. I mean, it is a physical game. Quarterbacks are going to get hit. These officials are told to err on the side of caution, but that was ridiculous.
So now 2nd down and goal. Pressure pass, caught, touchdown. Richardson. That's got an odd feeling, Troy, to it after that penalty call. 10-yarder to Richardson.
That doesn't quite feel right, does it? Paul Richardson runs a slant route. Just great anticipation by Russell Wilson. He's got a small window there. He's got to beat Will Hoyt, with the ball, and he does it. Touchdown Seattle, and they turn this into a 10-point game.
If the extra point is made by Hauschka, has not missed this year. We'll show the hit going to break. Mike Pereira's in his spot. That is what drew the personal foul, kept the drive alive. And it's now a 10-point game in Seattle. Going to have the kickoff. Now Ahmad Brooks is going to leave. Got off to a fast start in this game. Troy, they're going to be talking about that call on Nick Moody all week, and instead of a 4th down, it became 1st down by penalty on the personal foul on the hit on Russell Wilson. The call was terrible, and we're going to hear from Mike Pereira.
Yeah, and when I was watching it in real time, Joe, I thought what a great job he had done in what appeared to be keeping his head up and really doing it the way that they're coached to do it now in today's game. And yet it still drew the flag, which was wrong.
Here's Ellington from the end zone. 49ers need a spark. Now they're going to get another flag. We'll get the call. Short return by Ellington. Johnson on the tackle. 49ers will have it, trying to win here to avoid a 7-7 record.
By the receiving team, number 43. Half the distance to the goal. San Francisco's ball, 1st down.
So let's bring in Mike Pereira from Los Angeles and look at that hit by Nick Moody that turned into a 1st down.
Yeah, hey, Joe and Troy, I agree with both of you. Here's the issue with the quarterback. It's so hard to tackle him now as it is, but you can't lead with the crown of your helmet. Head up, wrap, which he did. To me, that's not a foul.
We'll show it after this play on first down. Ball just outside the 6. Smith wrapped up by Bobby Wagner, and here is that hit that drew the flag.
Here's the hit once again, and you see the job that Moody does. Great.
Yeah, and I think, guys, as you say, form tackle now. See what you hit. And that's what they're trying to teach players, and that's what really that player did there. And to me, that's the kind of action, that's the kind of hit you want to see in the quarterback.
Yet it was flagged. Instead of fourth down and a field goal attempt, a first down and a touchdown pass followed. Thank you, Mike. 2nd and 13 after that play by Wagner. Pass is to Crabtree along the sideline. Good throw by Kaepernick, and Crabtree is out of bounds at the 14, a gain of 10.
Yeah, now they give themselves a chance. San Francisco does. They're 4 of 10 here on third down this afternoon. But by the completion that they're able to get there on that play, gives them some room now. See whether or not they're able to sustain this drive.
Pass is to Bolden for the first down. The 49ers possessing the football. They've lost Gore. Hyde is questionable with an ankle. They're down to Alfonso Smith, but that was a good throw from Kaepernick.
Yeah, it sure was. That's where the receiver wants it. When you're running that slant route, when you need to pick up the first down, they want it low and away. They can protect themselves. Just a good throw. Great job by Bolden off the release and being able to go down and make the catch.
Here's Alfonso Smith. Wagner on the tackle, a gain of 2.
Bobby Wagner has been all over the place again today. He made a big stop earlier on this possession on first down, and those big guys up front, they absorb a lot of blockers, and it allows Bobby Wagner to just pick the holes, knife his way through that line of scrimmage, and make the play on the ball carrier.
Kaepernick's in big trouble. Nice move to get out of it and turn it into a positive play. That is all athleticism as he spun around Irvin, picks up 5.
Well, Joe Staley played some tight end back in college, and he helps him out. Just an excellent job of him picking off Bruce Irvin, as well as Cliff Averill. What looked like a disastrous play, they're able to pick up some pretty good yards.
Pass caught. Miller, first down. The fullback with a nice catch out of the backfield. And the drive continues for the 49ers.
You know, it was interesting because last week the first interception that he threw against Oakland, that's where the ball was supposed to go to Bruce Miller in the flat, and he passed it up. Right now, 3rd and short, and I wasn't real sure he was going to throw the ball there. He held it for just a second, but he's able to get the ball to Miller, and a big first down for the 49ers.
Low snap. Kaepernick out to his left. Forced out with a gain of maybe half a yard.
This defense is just so fast and quick. O'Brien Schofield, he was the one pursuing him from the backside. You got linebackers, and boy, they're hard to outrun. Just speed at virtually every position.
How about the pressure on Kaepernick? Been sacked 5 times, hit 7 times, 20 dropbacks. Most sacked quarterback in the league. Second and 9. Kaepernick's got room if he wants to take it. And Collins going to dive to midfield. They're going to spot him half a yard shy of a first down. It's third down.
Hey, Quentin Patton, who is active for just the second time this season, he punctures right through the middle of the defense, and Kaepernick, who when he steps up in the pocket, that had to have been the read and what they were trying to go with the football, but Kaepernick just doesn't see it, but they completely turned him loose in the middle of the field.
Third down and less than one. Kaepernick will keep it. The throw is behind Cleveland. And there's a flag down on the field. Kaepernick could have run for it, but he elected to throw it to Cleveland, to throw a bit behind him, but flags are down anyway. And it's a man downfield.
I'm not sure who was downfield. We'll see what Ed Hockley has to say. They're trying to get the ball down the field to Vernon Davis, and then they got Asante Cleveland, who hasn't played. And
ineligible receiver downfield offense. The penalty is declined. Brings up fourth down.
So instead, Troy, of third down and 5.5, the penalty's declined by Pete Carroll. He's going to force the 49ers to go for it here on fourth down.
Yeah, a little. I think it's four down territory, even if they had taken the penalty. If it's third down and they don't convert, 49ers are running out of time. They've got to get something going.
Kaepernick could have walked for the first down on that previous play. Hand off to Miller, and he's got it. Quick little hitter in the middle. And it's Bruce Miller with a first down pickup with a 3-yard carry.
The 49ers still huddling up here, and with 8 minutes to go. Certainly time is critical. The Seattle defense, they just bet that they're not going to give up a big play, and they're going to force an offense to make a mistake before they're able to drive the football the length of the field.
Kaepernick steps up. And he will pick up a couple to the 45. KJ Wright on the stop. 7.5 to go.
Well, it's been tough. Whatever they've been able to get offensively, it's been because Colin Kaepernick has been able to avoid the pass rush. You're right. He's been hit a lot. Haven't been able to get Vernon Davis involved today.
Same story as last week. No urgency whatsoever. Smith inside the 40. Another third down coming up, but as Jim Harbaugh has already shown us, they've got 2 downs to pick up a couple.
And I think that's why you run the ball in that situation. Alphonso Smith, excellent job of finishing that run, but I think right now I'm surprised that the 49ers are taking as much time. They were running the ball. They were getting more plays off at a faster pace in the first half.
Big day on the ground for the 49ers. Better than their meeting on Thanksgiving. 3rd and 2. Here is Smith. He's a yard shy. So down to their 3rd string running back. The 49ers desperately needing a win. Now Smith is slow to get up. Are faced with another 4th down, and we're told now that Carlos Hyde is officially out of this game.
Well, you see Joe Staley grab Alphonso Smith and get him up off the turf. He was hurt. I think he needed to stay on the ground, but they needed him in the game as well. I don't have anybody left.
It's 4th down. It's Miller again, and it depends on the spot. Schofield made the stop, and they are walking in short of the 1st down. With the ranks thinning for San Francisco, they've had to hand it to Miller twice now on 4th down. Boone says it's a first down. That line says it isn't. And he didn't get it.
No, he didn't get it based on where the hash marks are there and where the first down markers were. It's a pretty good look at it. I don't think he made it either, Joe.
Remember, Seattle can't challenge if it's ruled a first down, but it isn't. Seattle has it with their 10-point lead. Crowd of better than 68,000 loving it here in Seattle. Aerial coverage provided by Nationwide. Ironic that a topic of discussion here in Seattle all year. Seattle opponents have had the fewest penalties called against them in the NFL. Pete Carroll's talked a lot about that, saying that the disparity is too much. Well, a penalty called in this game last time Seattle had it against Nick Moody for a hit to the chest of the quarterback. It'll be talked about all week long, and instead of a field goal attempt, a short field goal attempt after the penalty, a touchdown throw to Richardson. It's a 10-point game, and with the flag down, Marshawn Lynch takes it to the 40.
I agree with you, Joe, that that's certainly going to be discussed throughout the week, and it's one of those plays.
Personal foul, clipping, offense, number 68. 15-yard penalty, repeat first down.
You know, it's one of those plays when you start talking about instant replay and being able to get the calls right on a play like that that meant so much in the outcome, you know, of this game. The difference between a two-possession game and a one-possession game is huge. That there's nothing anyone can do about it, and it clearly was the wrong call.
But is it something you would like to see reviewed?
Well, I don't like instant replay anyway. I mean, it's here to stay, but I never wanted it as a player. I think these officials overall do a pretty good job. Just leave it as it is. But if you're going to have it, let's not have plays like that that affect the outcome of a game.
Meanwhile, Marshawn Lynch, after the clipping call against Britt, picks up 2 yards, and we'll bring in Jay Glazer. Obviously, Jay, as you sit back in Los Angeles, I see you back there, a lot of talk about the future of Jim Harbaugh. What's the latest?
Look, you know, Joey said it from obviously the first week of the season that regardless what happened in San Francisco this year, Jim Harbaugh would be gone. There were obviously too many interpersonal problems there, issues with him in front office. I just think it was just time for him to move on. Great coach, but the players, there were some issues with him there. And obviously this year you could see, I don't know so much if they've tuned him out, but there's certainly a disconnect.
And so then the next question is, as Wilson is wrapped up by Tank Carradine landing spots, there are opportunities out there both at this level and in college.
You know, look, the big thing is obviously you're going to try and trade him. If you know a guy's not going to come back next year, you might as well try and get something for him, right? It makes sense. And I think there's going to be a lot of spots that would love to have a guy like Jim Harbaugh in. The great thing, look, Jim could coach. We know that. He just kind of rubs people the wrong way there. And I think there's just a shelf life to it. I think Jim will have an awful lot of options. But remember, too, this is not a thing where going into the season, I was saying they were firing Jim Harbaugh. There were two things there. He was going into the last year of his contract, and he's going to want to be maybe the highest paid head coach in football or in sports, and I know that they just weren't willing to tie themselves to it right now.
All right, Jay, thanks. 48-20-1, that's the record, including 5-3 in the postseason and the 3 straight championship games.
Well, hey, and Jay Glazer was on top of it from the very beginning, going back to September. And when Jay Glazer says something, you can pretty much bank it. And I'll tell you, though, I don't know who's going to give up anything for him. He's not going to be back, so why would anyone give up a pick of any kind?
Here's Carradine with good plays on this drive. It'll force a 4th down and keep this game somewhat interesting as San Francisco will spend their 2nd timeout, and the offensive line has disappeared for Russell Wilson in this offense on this possession. So with that, and before a 4th down, and with the field position back near the Seattle end zone, we'll have a punt coming, and we'll welcome you inside the broadcast booth. And there has been a lot of that talk, but I go back to the record of Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh can rest in the fact that when he takes over a program, he's had success at USD, certainly had success at Stanford. He's had incredible success with the 49ers, but it appears this is it.
I think he's a great football coach, and if winning football games and getting your message across makes people uncomfortable, then I say so be it. But you better be real careful if you're going to make a change and thinking you're going to have someone who's going to come in and do a better job than Jim Harbaugh's done.
Here's Ellington on the return. Not much, well covered by the Seahawks downfield with 4:02 left. We've seen this a lot in the 3+ years from Jim Harbaugh. It's America's game of the week. 49ers have it, but they trail by 10.
Game is sponsored by Burger King. Mix and match 2 large premium sandwiches for just $5 only at Burger King.
As we continue here in Seattle, Week 15 continues tonight. Big game in the NFC East and the NFC overall. Dallas and Philadelphia tomorrow night on ESPN. New Orleans right there at Chicago. Best starting field position for the 49ers, down 10. Incomplete to start this drive. Last time they had it, they went 7 minutes 50 seconds and came away with no points as Seattle's defense made a stop on 4th and a yard.
And, you know, the thing about it is, against this defense, they're the best at not giving up big plays down the field. But in this situation, under 4 minutes to play, down 2 scores, you've got to start trying to force some things. You can't just continue to throw the ball underneath or run the football the way that they did that previous possession.
Coming with a blitz with Maxwell off the edge, and Kaepernick wrestled to the ground by Bruce Irvin.
First they bring Byron Maxwell off the slot. Kaepernick feels that, and then as he tries to step up, Bruce Irvin is right there. They have been getting after Kaepernick all afternoon.
10 tackles for a loss put up by this Seahawk defense in this game. 3rd and 18. Kaepernick avoids a sack, finds Miller. 4th down coming up as Miller is brought down by KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner with a gain of 14. But it is 4th down, 4th and 4.
That's the other part of this. They tried to go verticals up the field and get a shot downfield, but then you got to hold the ball to let that happen, and just not enough time.
And Schneider, the general manager for the Seahawks, on the sideline. Any hope rests in converting here. Kaepernick to his left, incomplete. Seahawks take over. And they're on their way to their 10th win. A strong franchise here in Seattle. This week in Week 15, America's game of the week is a physical battle in the NFC West. 10-point game. Seahawks have it. Here's Lynch. Bouncing it to the edge. And doing what Marshawn Lynch does week after week. Turns nothing into a 7-yard gain. It's just incredible.
It really is. And when he has runs like that, this crowd, boy, they erupt. They love watching this guy run with the football. He's not going out of bounds. He's staying in bounds, keep the clock running, and then carry a few 49ers with him.
San Francisco spends their final timeout. For those of you just joining us, this game was tight. It was a 7-3 game at the half. Frank Gore, who was later lost to a concussion with his 75th touchdown in the NFL. The first touchdown of the day, Marshawn Lynch. Hello, thank you. Thank you for blocking for me. to continue, and a first down by penalty, which led to the touchdown throw to Richardson. This has been an injury-filled game. Seattle on their way to a 10-4 record. San Francisco 7-7. Third straight loss. As Lynch is going to be brought down short of the first down.
Well, Pete Carroll, when we visited with him, he's been real proud of the way this defense has played, and he talked about it. He said, hey, you know, we're on it, and it's just a matter of how long we can hang on to it. Well, they continue with that again here this afternoon. They gave up some yards in the first half, but they have shut this 49ers offense down in the second half.
2-minute warning in Seattle. Third down and 1. 2 minutes left in Seattle. No timeouts on the board for either team. Marshawn Lynch on the day. 20 carries, 87 yards, a touchdown. The defense for Seattle in the second half have allowed no points, only 4 first downs, 67 yards. They've sacked Kaepernick 3 times, 6 times total in this game. They are rolling yet again. 3rd and 1. Lynch, first down. We saw John Schneider, the general manager, who is in his 5th season, on the sideline for the Seahawks. There he is. What a job he's done in concert with Pete Carroll, also in his 5th season. It is the 18th season of ownership for Paul Allen, and this is a solid group up here in Seattle.
Yeah, I talked a little bit earlier about, you know, what a special relationship John Schneider and Pete Carroll have, and I asked Pete the other day, you know, has it changed at all since you won the world championship? That's when typically a lot of things start to get in the way. He said actually it's gotten better. But to go back to what Pete Carroll said this week, hey, it is fleeting in this league and you've got to enjoy every moment. But right now this team is flying high, and that defense has been really, really special.
Don't forget the OT presented by Lowe's is coming right up after the football here in Seattle. All that talk about Jim Harbaugh, I thought Jay Glazer was going to at least throw a team out there. Here's where he's going. He didn't do it. Oakland's been talked about. Miami is on the board. Our editorial consultant Steve Horn reminding us Stephen Ross, who's a Michigan man like Harbaugh, could be the guy who keeps Harbaugh away from the Wolverines if he wants to go that direction. Brady Hoke has been fired in Michigan. That job is open. But right now this day belongs to Seattle, and they are on some run, and they have a legitimate shot at the #1 seed in the NFC, which they had last year. They rode that to a championship in Super Bowl 48. 49ers are officially eliminated from playoff contention. We'll take a break. For Aaron Andrews and Troy Aikman, Richie Zients, Rich Russo, Joe Buck. That's it from Seattle. 10-4 are the Seahawks. OT coming up.